Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In Philosophy lecture, Professor Dr. Haji Mondurul Abidin, MSI. Here, I want to present the history of science and philosophy of science as the test achievement. Let me introduce myself. My name is Usatri Fitran Nasana, ID 2306011100016 from Mathematics Class B. The topic in this discussion is history of science and philosophy of science. Okay, just go straight to the first discussion. According to the Liangji, science is a series of research activities that seek to explain a method to obtain a rational, empirical understanding of the world in its various aspects, and overall systematic knowledge that explains various phenomena that humans want to understand. In the slide, there is a chart. In this chart, it shows that knowledge must be achieved with human activity. This activity must be carried out using certain methods, and finally methodological activity brings systematic knowledge. Science as a scientific activity can take the form of study, investigation, attempt to find ourselves. Therefore, searches are carried out repeatedly, so that in the world of science, the term research is now used for the most important scientific activity to discover new knowledge. Next is the philosophy of science. According to the Liangji, philosophy of science is defined as our reflective thinking on issues regarding all matters relating to the foundation of science and the relationships between science and all aspects of human life. Philosophy of science can also be divided into two domains of study. 1. Philosophy of science in a broad sense accommodates problems that discuss relationships outside scientific activities such as a. Ontological, metaphysical implication of the scientific world picture. B. A moral code that serves as a guide for managers of science. C. Pragmatic consequence, ethics of science organizers, and so on. 2. Philosophy of science in the narrow sense, according to Birling, the philosophy of science accommodates problems relating to the inward relationships contained within science itself, namely those shortening the nature of scientific knowledge and ways of seeking and achieving scientific knowledge. Next, ancient Greek age. The beginning of the emergence of European science is thought to come from the developments of the Greek city-states that inhabited the coastal areas and islands in the eastern Mediterranean. At the end of the 6th and 5th centuries BC, their works are youngly known through snippets, reference, short quotations made by authors who live letters. Perhaps after hundreds of years, and starting from the extent of thinking that began to be realized, because the Greeks felt themselves tied to mystical attitude to life. As an example of a phrase from the famous tales, he is known as the oldest philosopher. Everything is water, and is actually followed by the quote, and the world is full of quotes. However, it seems credible that the ancient Greek philosophers were more interested in explaining world phenomena related to sensory perception of what could be called the perceptual world. Because those are good that are in the form of water, was the first principle and basis of everything, and therefore his philosophy was called natural philosophy. In fact, Greek philosophers led the scientific attitude among contemporary European countries. The Pythagorean school is today considered as very important tradition. This is a very religious sect. The founder of this school tried to find the key to universal harmony for natural and social nature, which was considered as a series of hermit points. Zeno and Parmenides, the Eleatic philosophers who emerged somewhat later, used sophisticated conceptual analysis to support philosophical positions, proclaiming the eternal unity of existence. It is still a speculative explanation of common sense phenomena rather than a truly technical argument about controlled artificial experience, which has only apparent since Aristotle. The elite of the so-called Golden Age supported this philosophy when Pericles ruled Athens, but with common sense. They were still masters and magical at the time, as can be seen from the list of skills written or recorded in the work of Prometheus, the work of Azuch. By the end of the 5th century BC, the two arts being studied were approaching maturity. Medicine and geometry. Plato lived in the early century BC and was the first philosopher whose writings still exist. Hesiod, significant propagandist of mathematics for the Republic. He argued the geometry enabled the mean to talk about real or concrete ideally. In times, he outlines a cosmogony along the Pythagorean direction and included a theory of music from the point of view of simple balance, as well as an investigation of the theories of physics and physiology accepted at the time. He was friends with geometers, one of whom was Eudoxus, the person who created mathematical cartography, which showed that the Earth was round. He also conducted in-depth research on undetectable quantities. Aristotle, who also lived in the century BC, was one of the world's greatest philosophers. He created a biological and taxonomic science very similar to that which exists today through precise observational observations and disciplined theory. Additionally, he conducts collaborative research for large-scale studies. This is seen a comparative study of city stage legislation in ancient Greece. He was highly skilled in the scientific method. In every study he produced, he defined the problem area and spoke critically with his predecessors, usually pointing out that they were naive in some important respect. In fact, much of subsequent natural philosophy derives from the conversations of Plato and Aristotle, for they were the first to discuss the most profound philosophical problems of life. Aristotle served as personal tutor to the prince who later became Alexander the Great for several years. Although he later encountered problems in Athens, his influence is persisted in a museum in Alexandria. Greek culture developed rapidly when the empires were built by Alexander the Great at the end of the century BC. Later cities became places where classical scholars and writers competed, and some of them founded educational centers such as the Planet City Museum of Alexandria. Next, Middle Age. The Middle Age began after the Roman Empire collapsed in the 5th century AD. This century is called the Middle Age because it is between two eras, ancient and modern times. The Middle Age were part of the development of scholastic philosophy. It began in the second half of antiquity and is known as the patristic period. The term scholasticism comes from the Latin word scholasticus, which means teacher. During this period, philosophy was taught in schools, monasteries, and universities. The Middle Ages were marked by the emergence of the landscapes in the field of science. Scientific activities are closely related to religions because almost everyone is a theologian. There are many striking differences between the Middle Age explicitly in terms of religious dominance. Religious beliefs changed greatly when Christianity emerged, which was taught by the Prophet Isa. Medieval philosophy went through the following two periods. 1. Patristic period. Patristic comes from the Latin patris, which means God's father, namely Christian religious expert in the early centuries of Christianity. This period has two stages. 1. The beginning of Christianity. After going through many fields, especially related to Greek philosophy, Christianity established itself, strengthening the church externally and enforcing dogmatic neutrality. This philosophy, this philosophy of Augustine, a famous philosopher of the patristic period. 2. Scholastic period. The scholastic period lasts from this period is divided into three stages. 1. Early scholastic period, characterized by the first formation of methods born from the close relationship between religions and philosophy. 2. Peak period of scholastic development, characterized by conditions influenced by Aristotle to arrival of Arab and Jewish philosophers. The beginning of its development was in Thomas C. late scholastic period. Next era Renaissance. During the Renaissance, medieval culture began to develop into a modern one. Renaissance, also known as Renaissance or Renaissance, means being reborn as an individual who is free to think and produce work. In this period, famous people and their ideas were 1. According to Becker, the first and final test of all science is based on experience. All science requires mathematics. With this theory, he lived the period of thought that studied reasoning and ways of thinking, as well as thoughts that adhered to religions and philosophy. From the statement above, it can be concluded that A. Roger Bacon's opinion was not immediately accepted by scholars. B. Bacon has not been able to free himself from the shackles of superstitions and religion thinking. See, he moved around a lot in politics and religion, and finally he went to prison. 2. Copernicus said the earth and the planets revolved around the sun, so that the sun was the center. This view is contrary to the general view of Hipparchus and Ptolemy, which states that the earth is the center of the universe. 3. Johannes Kepler discovered three laws that complement Reich prefers research, namely 1. Fact proof that the motion of celestial bodies does not move along circular paths but rather along elliptical paths. The orbit of all planets are elliptic. B. Meanwhile, the lines connecting the planets and the sun always pass through the same area. C. With mathematical calculation, it has been proven that if the average distance of two planets A and B from the Sun, then the time to orbit their respective orbit is P and Q. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.